Hi. In the previous podcast, there's something I left out about the 100 plus billionaires, and it's of course the fact that somebody bought a garage in an industrial estate in Peckham for £550,000, such as the lunacy of the housing market in Britain and particularly in London these days. But I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about people that convert to Islam, Muslim converts, particularly what is called white people, or European white people, particularly British white people. I saw a programme on Panorama the other day on BBC about people that have been radicalised and converted in prison. It's not particularly these people I want to talk about. I've lived in Whitechapel for about 20 years now, and my impressions are mostly what I gather on the streets. I have talked to a lot of these people because obviously they're often out proselytising, and so therefore they'll talk to any idiot that wants to talk to them, particularly me. But I've learned a lot about them. I'm going to give you some impressions of them and what I think of them, which is obviously quite negative. Well, first of all, talking to these people, they regard themselves as reverts, not perverts, but reverts, people that really are Islamic anyway, except that they hadn't heard the word and now they've heard the word. Very much like fundamentalist Christians, actually. I find them arrogant, particularly their body language. A lot of people from the Middle East that I've met in Whitechapel have remarked about them wearing retro gear. If you go down Brick Lane, you see they sell retro gear in the shops down there, stuff that's 40 or 50 years old. But the retro gear a lot of these converts wear, along with their beards and their headgear, is dating back to a period of about 1,500 years. So you really can't get any more retro than this. Why is it that these people, when they convert, have to convert so extremely? Why can't they wear what they were wearing before? Does it make them any less Islamic or any less of a Muslim? I don't know. Anyway, I think that most of them, in fact, if not all of them, are inadequate people who need a sense of community, acceptance, something to belong to. A bit like being in a cult, really. I think it's the same sort of mentality. Many of them appear to be ex-Christians, so obviously it's not too difficult to change from one set of absurd beliefs to another set of absurd beliefs, which is exactly what Christianity is, another set of absurd beliefs. Most of them are more Catholic than the Pope as well, as I said, hence the retro gear and the beards. And they actually have swallowed the whole package because a lot of them look down on secular Muslims, and have swallowed, some of them, the anti-Shia, anti-Mahadist propaganda. They're sectarian to an unbelievable, these are not true Muslims, they say of Shiites, for example. Their worst enemies are not really the USA, that's a given, but Ataturk, because he abolished the caliphate. Most of them want to reintroduce the caliphate. That's their politics. Crap. I mean, examples of that were on the Panorama programme of converts were Richard Reed, the shoe bomber, Lindsay Gearman, who blew himself up on the tube, killing loads of people. The Panorama thing also looked at the pathetic Brick Lane demo they had a few months ago, where some of the fundamentalists, including converts, were marching against shops selling alcohol in Brick Lane. It seems to me that a lot of the people that were against them were their fellow Muslims and were arguing with them in the park. I saw the demonstration coming back from the bagel shop, and it was quite a sad sight, really. I think that people could be wasting their time over things like that. But there you go. Now, it seems the black people that convert to Islam usually convert in prison, usually as a result of being in prison, usually in prison as a result, usually of racist judges and so on. There's, we are living in a racist society in the Western world. There's no doubt in that. But, and also as well, the whole legacy of slavery. But Muslim slavery of black people continued long after it was abolished in the Western world. And in fact, it wasn't abolished in Saudi Arabia until the 1950s. Although they've been told me that slaves had a better, they were better treated if they were Muslim slaves or enslaved by Muslims. Well, the fact of the matter is, whether they were better treated or not makes no difference. A slave is a slave. And remember that Boko Haram have claimed that they're going to sell those girls they kidnapped into slavery. And in some countries, Muslim countries mostly, slavery does exist in a form, such as Mauritania, for example. These white converts, though, as I will call them, they're very smug, to the point of being arrogant. A bit like white Rastas are as well. To a lesser degree, people in higher Christians, particularly white Rastas, they do give off this sort of arrogance and snootiness and smugness. But at least they don't go around blowing themselves up on buses. I mean, the murderers of Lee Rigby, for example, were converts and tried to cut his head off. That's... But there was no skulking around for them. They wanted to be martyred. They wanted to be arrested. They didn't sort of skulk around in back alleys to do their murder like other fundamentalists, such as the Shankill Butchers did, for example, as they murdered sectarian murders with Catholics in the Troubles of the last century. And let's have a look at what these people have converted into. Let's have a look at what's been happening in the Muslim world that's regressive. Sudan, for example, has sentenced a woman to death, a pregnant woman to death for being an apostate, and 100 lashes as well. In Brunei, where the Sultan is Prince Charles's best mate, they've reintroduced Sharia law with amputations, stonings and so forth. That was just the other week. Whether these things will be carried out, I don't know. But it is going backwards. What else can I say about them? Yes, it's very strange that these white converts, the body language and so on. There's something else I'd like to point out, is that obviously as fundamentalists, and that is what they are, they're all virgins, or at least celibate. They don't have sex, so they're really sexually repressed as well. What about women, Western women that convert to Islam, apart from reasons of marriage? I can only put it down to some form of masochism, if you like. Not sexual masochism, but emotional masochism. The desire to be subordinated. After all, you've got to remember that Islam, or the popular perception of it, and the truth of it to a big degree, particularly in Islamic countries, is that women are completely subordinate, have a completely bad time of it. So why convert to a religion where women are second-class citizens? That surely is some form of masochism. A lot of the women that have converted seem to be ex-Catholics as well, so that might actually say something. So much for the converts. As anarchists, we disapprove of religion because we don't believe in God, because religion produces subservience towards authority, because religion has got such a bad track record in the history of humanity. As one anarchist once said, if God really did exist, it would be necessary to abolish him. Notice him. God is always a he, of course. And we also lump Muslims and Christians together as the same monotheistic religion, really, just with a bit of differences. Christians have been around for another 500 years more, but it's still 2,000 years of crap. And we want to abolish it, we want to get rid of it, and we want to do it unreservedly. Of course, you know, still believe that people have the right to practice their religion, but since when have the monotheistic religions ever been non-political? It's their political role is another thing that we completely and absolutely object to. So, away with Islam, away with Christianity, and away with all religion is all we've got to say about it. And that, my friends, is that. Oh, apart from one other minor matter. Something else it might be completely flippant and might be completely irrelevant, but one thing I have noticed is, particularly amongst the males, because the women, of course, are always covered up, all their body hair is not there, unlike the Muslims that you see walking around the streets. Of course, with their hair quite loose and so on, the young girls, and not wearing the retro gear, maybe the headscarf or something, but they don't hide a lot of their hair. But the converts always do if they're female. But if they're male, with their wispy beards and their barnets, there's one thing I've noticed. As I say, it might be flippant, but why is it that so many of them are ginger? Why have so many of them got ginger hair? Is there something about it? Are you more likely to convert to Islam if you've got ginger hair? Who knows? That's a problem for those with ginger hair, I suppose. All right, then. That's that. An irreverent look at Muslim converts from Western society in Whitechapel. Goodbye.